We are going to talk about plotting today. Yay, plotting. Boy, wow. How often do you go into a classroom and say, we're going to talk about plotting? And people say, oh yay, oh boy, excitement and joy. It's time for the plot lecture. So, I'm going to talk to you about 3 or 4 different ways that writers I know construct their stories. The thing you have to understand about this is none of these are by any means all-inclusive. None of these are the be-all and end-all. These are all tools, as I always say, that you can use or discard. I always worry that writers will look too much at these sort of tools and think, this is what I have to do. And for some writers, that will be useful to have that framework. For other writers, this is what I have to do could ruin your writing. There is no have to do. But these are good ways to look at writing, particularly plotting, if you're having issues with it. The first one we're going to talk about is a very simple one we call the 3-act format. 3-act format is came out of screenwriting. It's primarily a Hollywood methodology of storytelling. And 3-act focuses on just lumping your book into 3 parts, your story into 3 parts. You have these beautiful squares, which are completely all the same size. You have Act 1. It's often said this is the introduction. The Act 2, escalation. And Act 3, climax. All right. Another way of looking at this often is Act 1, chase your hero up a tree. Act 2, throw rocks at them. Act 3, cut the tree down. That's how some screenwriters talk about the concept. With this one is basically that you're looking at these big transitions as ways to view your story. Generally, your introduction is, your Act 1 is the reaction. Act 2 is the hero tries and makes things worse. And then Act 3 is pulls it out by the skin of the teeth. Or fails. That does not happen very often in the Hollywood structure of this. And so you usually look at that transition from Act 1 to Act 2 as Act 1 is your reaction chapter. We've talked about passive characters and things like this. In the 3-act format, usually your Act 1, your character's being chased. You can see this really well in the Lord of the Rings films, right? Act 1 is a lot of Frodo getting chased. Act 2, kind of right here, is Frodo steps up and says, I will take the ring, I'll do it, which we call the call to action. Act 2 is they struggle and try, and things get worse. It kind of breaks down a little bit with the Lord of the Rings because you're not sure if it's 1 film or 3 films. But Act 3 is, okay, we survived this horrible thing, whatever. Gandalf is Gandalf's death, Act 2, but we pull through and we're going to continue on. That would be your 3-act structure for the Lord of the Rings films, right? Or for the first one. Hard to say on that one because of the whole 3 movies, which one is a film, which one is which film. But you can see it for Star Wars. Someone break this down for the first Star Wars film for me. What's Act 1?
Luke's on Tatooine.
Luke's on Tatooine. Running away. Act 2. They go to the Death Star and they actively go and get the princess, right? There is no more, we're not being chased now. We are, but we're actually doing something. But lo and behold, we get the princess. But what happens? Ben Kenobi dies. Everything's awful, and we're about to get blown up. Act 3, we somehow pull it out, right? This is your basic structure for this type of story. There's usually a transition right here as well, which is this is kind of the point of everything is awful. It's like can't possibly get worse.
I think you just answered my question. It was like,
Yeah.
where's the belly of the whale thing that people talk about?
Right, the belly of the whale is this is we will talk about that one more with the monomyth, which is another one of these story structures. These are all visualizations, but in this one, this would be where it is, right here.
Okay.
Though usually in the Hollywood format, this is actually the shortest. And then this one is mid-length, and this is the longest. Usually, okay? And so often you'll get to this thing, and then it depends on, Hollywood formula. You'll see the Act 3 is kind of the big set piece. Whatever your big ending set piece is your Act 3, particularly in the action movie. But yeah, this is your belly of the whale right here. So that's one method of looking at it. There is a whole ton written about this formula because of the sort of screenwriting. They try to break it down. They try to be very structured in screenwriting. Say, on this page, because a page correlates to a minute in screenwriting usually. So on page 9, you want this. On page 15, you want this. On page 30, you want this. If you're writing a 90-minute movie, then, this will be page 20, and this will be page 70. Because you can kind of break it down that way. I'm not sure if those actual numbers are correct, but you can find things that will do that for you. It's simply one way of looking at it.